The boobers. It's that time. I'm back. Yeah, for real. S-T-U-B-S You didn't think it was going to happen. It's happening. Stubs. Stubs. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Stubs Jason, where I review all kinds of things. I know it's been a while, so I want to get right to it. We're one short of a six-pack today. That's right. I got 5 flicks I'm going to breeze through. If this is your first time here, please feel free to give me a like and a subscribe on whatever platform you're hearing me on. So let's get rolling. First movie we're going to get into is Looney Tunes, The Day the Earth Blew Up. It is the latest attempt at getting Looney Tunes back into the modern pop culture landscape. This movie left me with some questions, like, who should Looney Tunes be made for? Can they work in a long format? Would they be better as shorts just tacked on to WB movies? Can they work in modern times? Regarding who should Looney Tunes be made for and if they can work in modern times, I personally think they should abandon the kids when they make movies. If you want to make kid content with Looney Tunes, throw a couple together that are like 7 to 14 minute shorts and release them as a TV episode. If you're shooting for a full-length feature, aim for me. The boomers aren't going to turn out. And because this IP hasn't really existed for kids, you're not going to get them. So aim for me. Make it meta. Slap me in the face with it. Be physical and zany in bits that'll tickle my nostalgia bone in a way that I can't deny. Push some boundaries. Be a little offensive. But on the other hand, make it smart. Every time I see Looney Tunes lean into some crazy modern sentiment, it always comes off as really lame and off-color in the worst way. No one on the planet wants to see twerking Looney Tunes. Thankfully, this movie is very limited in the cringe. That's not to say it lands most of its shots. Unfortunately, it probably has more whiffs than hits. Regarding long format, I think a fully animated movie that's somewhat targeted at younger audiences is often built around a narrative and character growth being present, and they are in this movie, but I'm convinced nobody wants that out of Looney Tunes. They should be Harry and Lloyd. I don't want them to be 3-dimensional characters. Actually, I prefer them to be 1-dimensional and pair them up with some human characters that do the growing. I grew up in a time when cable stations would just fill 2-hour blocks in the afternoon with Looney Tunes. Cartoon Network had the Bugs and Daffy show and the Tex Avery show. So these characters have a special place with me, just like the Muppets. But I think the suits and brand managers just don't have any idea on what to do with them or who they're meant for. This movie kind of showcases that lack of understanding. There's some things that go against PC norms of today, but then there's gags that are clearly aimed at Gen Z or younger. As a millennial, it all kind of functioned to a point where I walked out feeling like, oh, this is fine. But my dad didn't seem to really care for it at all. And while my son got a few laughs, he said he'd never need to watch it again. As far as the main characters go, Daffy and Porky make a lot of sense on paper. You got a straight man and a bit of a screwball. But personally, I just never really cared for them as a duo. I prefer jealous and absurd Daffy over wacky Daffy any day of the week. That said, the pairing does carry the film. They introduce an adoptive father to Daffy and Porky, who are essentially brothers in this. His name is Farmer Jim, and Farmer Jim is without a doubt the best part of this movie. This movie pretty much is all but winking at you when he's around, and yeah, it is great. Like those parts, those bits are good, like will make you laugh. They definitely land. As I previously mentioned, until they figure out a fresh formula that allows them all to exist in a longer format, these things are only as good as the gags that are present. And I'd say for me, this movie lands just under half of them. The animation is incredible, absolutely lovely to watch. There's sequences that lean into classic styles. There's also some hyper-real bits that kind of make you think of Ren and Stimpy or SpongeBob. All right, brass tacks. Should you go see The Day the Earth Blew Up? No, I don't think you should. I've seen a lot of very favorable reviews out there, like 8s and 9s, and that's just crazy to me. 5.4 is where I land with it. That's a no stub. However, I will say, if you enjoy Looney Tunes, watch it when it hits a streamer. Full disclosure, I 100% went to see this movie because I've heard that it's doing well enough that the distributor might save the other Looney Tune movie that was made at this time, one that kind of ended up in HBO Max purgatory. It's called Coyote vs. Acme, where Will Forte plays Wile E. Coyote's lawyer as he sues the Acme company for all the pain and suffering he's endured over the years. It just sounds ridiculous. I love Will Forte. Sorry. When I hear all of that, I'm all in. Like, I want to give that a shot. I want to see what that looks like. Anyways, pretty sure that they just released that article on the web purely to get people to go see this one. And I hate to break it, but it worked. I went. That's how bad I want to see this other movie. So, like I said, The Day the Earth Blew Up lands at a 5.4 for me. Don't stub. But if you enjoy the Looney Tunes, yeah, check it out on a streamer when it gets to one. All right, movie number 2 is Mickey 17. If you haven't seen anything about this movie, it's pretty much Robert Pattinson plays a guy who just keeps getting cloned. And he does a bunch of high-risk jobs that result in him dying. So they just keep bringing him back to life. I don't know. It looked kind of zany. I've been eyeballing this one for a while. Robert Pattinson gives a really fun and nuanced performance. It's kind of cool to see that we have absolutely perfected. I don't know if perfected. We have all but perfected the illusion of having one actor portray multiple characters on screen at the same time. Like, I understand. Multiplicity. Like, it's been a thing that we've been doing for a long time. But we've gotten really good at this point in time, guys. Anyways, this movie's set in space, kind of in the future. It's got a cool, fun, it's like kind of got a grubby existence, a grubby universe that they're all in. The bones of this movie are fairly standard for the director, Bong Joon-ho. There's humor in it, and some of it hits. There's some chuckles to be had here, but I don't think those chuckles are enough to make this a comedy that's worthwhile. And overall, it's just a bit of an odd movie. It doesn't have any sincerity, and it isn't really sharp enough to be satirical or a proper social commentary piece. But I think it wants to be a bit of all of those. On paper, it's got a great cast, but, a lot of the performances are kind of forgettable. Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette are there, and they're meant to be despicable characters, but I feel like they're just kind of phoning that in. I should hate them as characters, and I just don't have any kind of response to them. If anything, I feel like I just like them less as actors now. So... with everything going on in this movie, it just never really feels like there's any substantial consequences in play. Like, they try to build things up, but it just never really gets anywhere. There's a lot of subtext here about the Trump administration and society in general. It's not really preachy enough to say that it's like making a hardline statement on those, though. And it's not really absurd enough to get you laughing at it. So, I don't know. I went with a group of people, and half of us were really disappointed, and the other half seemed to really love it. So, I kept asking that group that loved it. I was like, what's this movie trying to say? And they're like, well, it's not meant to tell you anything. It's just meant to get you thinking about things. And I guess if you just like the idea of, like, here are concepts presented to you, we don't really do anything with them. This might work for you, but to me, like, if you're going to introduce an element, some kind of sci-fi trope or mechanism, like, be creative with it. Do something fun. Do something interesting with it. Oddly enough, with all that said, I can't say I hate this movie, but it was definitely a disappointment, especially considering the director, some of his past work like Snowpiercer and Parasite. They have incredible performances and they have great world building. The story is also great and incredible. I love them. I feel like this is definitely a bit of a step backwards. The premise just seems like it could be a lot of fun, and it just doesn't really have much fun. But it also wasn't serious enough to engage me emotionally or intellectually, so it just doesn't really do anything well. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So, no stub, no stream. I just don't think you're missing out on anything here. Mickey 17 lands at a 3.8 out of 10 for me. All right, so those are the two longer ones. The next three, they're all available to stream at home. Through rental or whatever. So I think one of them is on Hulu and the other one is on Apple TV. So the first one we're going to get to is Hellboy The Crooked Man, which, as far as I know, I think you can watch with your Hulu subscription at this time. I mean, look, it's a solid streamer movie. Like, I wouldn't specifically pay to watch it. It's got some really rough visual effects. But, give it a go. It's kind of cool and dark and gritty. It knows what it wants to be. It executes that pretty well. It's definitely not like the Del Toro and Perlman Hellboys, but they're not really going for that vibe at all. So when you start this one, if that's your reference for this character, it might take you a little bit of time to adjust, but I say stick with it. It kind of gives me Fallout vibes at times. I wouldn't say that it's can't miss. It's really great for like a rainy day to help you pass a few hours. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone under 13 unless they are really into dark horror mysteries. Hellboy The Crooked Man, I gave it a 6.66 out of 10 and say it's worth a stream. All right, next up is The Gorge. It is currently on Apple TV, kind of on par with Hellboy. It's definitely worth a watch. Anya Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller are solid in their lead roles. This movie doesn't really try anything too complicated. That's all right. You probably aren't walking away from this one with any strong feelings. It's just a solid little story. There's a bit of conspiracy in play. I don't think it necessarily elevates the movie to a level of being captivating, but it's there, and it's fine. It feels like they finished the script, and the notes were, I don't know, this feels kind of basic. So they asked ChatGPT to give them a low-risk twist, and it was like, all right, here you go. People seem to like it when minor sci-fi elements get tied back to this particular era in American history. So, here you go. Go to town. So, if you don't have Apple TV now, I'd just say wait for the next season of Ted Lasso or Monarch to come back, and then just add this to your watch list while you're there. If you're kind of bored and need something to do, it's just a notch above the middle of the road. Mostly because I think the actors, I like those actors, and they do a good job of mostly carrying this movie just to kind of mediocrity, but again, maybe a little above mediocrity. I don't think you're going to be miserable if you give it a shot. 5.3 out of 10 for me. Worth a stream. Wouldn't be a stub. But again, as it is, yeah, check it out if you got Apple TV. All right. Yeah, you know what? You guys probably heard 5 movies and were like, oh my gosh, we're going to be here forever. And I'm flying right through these things. You're welcome for keeping it brief, okay? Yeah, I know. I've got a giant backlog of things I've watched and would love to review. I just don't know if I'm going to get to do all of that. And even furthermore, it's all mostly just been middle of the road. Cinema might be dying right before our eyes, and we're just watching it happen. The studios are doing it to themselves. Anyways, let's just go ahead and get into the last. I'll go ahead and warn you. The last pile of disappointment that we're going to get to today. All right, the last movie I want to talk about is called The Brutalist. Man, it is a brutal movie experience. Like one of the most brutal movie experiences I've had in a while. Just a steaming pile of underwhelming mediocrity. A drab collection of people who suddenly take actions that cause challenges for your movie's protagonist. And why do they do that? Why? Because the protagonist needs something to be further victimized for. Your main character is portrayed by Adrian Brody. You know, he's a guy who has escaped the Nazi occupation in Europe and just continues to kind of go through hard times once he's here in America. Is the movie, I guess, in a nutshell. Then it kind of drops something on you at the end, and it's like, I will say, I didn't research this movie, and maybe it's based off a true story. I don't know if that necessarily makes me say, oh, wow, that's terrible, blah, 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 blah. You know, if this is a real person, yeah, they had a bad shake, but they're not a saint either. Like, they definitely have self-inflicted circumstances, you know, but I don't know. Anyways, I was really excited about this movie. Adrian Brody had won Best Actor, and honestly, I don't even think he's the best actor in this movie. This movie had been extremely high, like endlessly praised for its scope and scale and overall cinematography and the look, and it was like, oh, you've got to go see it on the big screen. And I will say I did not get to go see it on the big screen, but I watched it at home on my projector, which is a pretty good experience. And yeah, I don't think there's a single shot or frame from this movie that I can pull up in the gallery of my mind as I'm recording this if my life depended on it. Yeah, just completely forgettable. I even heard Bill Burr gush about this movie. He was like, oh, this movie is so heavy, but it's incredible, and it looks amazing. Not that Bill Burr's like where I go to for my movie advice, but I don't know. As the angriest Boston I've ever heard, I figured if it penetrated through his thick skin and got to his heart, that's pretty impressive, right? So, look, it's so long, there's an intermission. Like, it's that long. There's an intermission in this movie. Look. Overall, I say no stub, no stream. Just don't do it. If you needed to know that, hey, even the people that escaped Nazi-occupied Europe made it to America and didn't have it that great, go for it. And that there were bad people here, there's bad people in power. Yeah, I guess, if you need that reminder and you want to spend 3 hours, go for it. Knock yourself out, but just not enough there. None of it was compelling enough to endure that runtime as far as I'm concerned. So, again, another brief review. 3.4 out of 10 for me, though. That's it. That's all I've got. I teased the next episode that I've got. I've got something recorded. I got to trim it down. And I got a few things coming up that I'm kind of hoping to maybe throw a short one together. But, man, I'm not going to lie, guys. There's a lot of life on my calendar over the next couple of months, and I just can't promise anything right now, but I will try and get them out, and I'll try and get some shorts out there. But I do appreciate you guys taking the time to listen, and I hope that you can be patient with me. Things will slow down. I imagine things will slow back down for me, and I'll have a chance to do this a little more regularly. But for now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Great doing this again. Take care of each other. Be sure to reach out, as always. Take it easy, guys. S-T-U-B-S spells Stubs. S-T-U-B-S spells Stubs.
Stubs all done.